I literally have you like propped up in my bookshelf. Anyway, today I'm going to be doing my June wrap-up just because I wanted to have like a little spot where in a couple of years I can go back and be like, oh, that's what I read in June of 2020. I know, and I actually started reading again in June of 2020. So June of 2020 was like formative. Also because, you know, I usually do TBRs and then I never read. You never see if I did read it or not. You just see next month's TBR. So like, you know, need to switch it up, do a wrap-up and actually say, I read this. The first book I read in June was The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes by Suzanne. I had started reading this in May, right when I got it, and it took me so long to get through because I was kind of hate reading this because I really just did not like this book. I was reading it and I was like, I kind of want to do a full review of this because I'm planning on rereading it. I know I just said I didn't like it, but it was just like weird. It wasn't what I was expecting, and also because, you know, I didn't care about any of these characters. The only character I like mildly cared about was Sejanus, whatever his name is. That was the only character I slightly cared about, and I didn't even care about him either. I literally found like a crappy fake audiobook of this and I was half listening to it, half reading it, half not caring about it. But I like the ending. The ending is what saved this book. The ending is what made this book a 4-star read because the ending was so good. I was like, damn, I've never read a book with such a good ending. So I really appreciated this, but I was also taking notes like the whole way through. I'm not gonna lie, the notes I took for this book were more detailed than literally any notes I ever took for any book I read in high school. So there's like really big annotations, like there's heaps of annotations. Like, you know, if you annotate the first page of the book like this, that it is gonna be a hell of a trip. But you can tell where I wasn't paying much attention because there is nothing just written on any of the pages, but there's so many side notes. That's why I was like, I want to do a full video on it, but I have to like reread it to get all my notes. So I'm planning on doing that. So whenever I reread this book, there'll be a video on it. Yeah, I give it 4 stars, I think, mostly because of the ending. I just felt like it was weird that Dr. Gale or whatever is supposed to be like really cruel, and you're telling me she didn't come up with anything for the Hunger Games to make it like actually entertaining in the first 10 years. That sounds ridiculous to me. The only thing this book achieved was making me feel bad for Mags. I'm not really sure what I thought of this book. It was okay. It was there. I'd read it again, but like I didn't care about Snow. I'm interested for the movie, but the thing is, this is not one movie. This is 3 movies. If you've read the book, you'll know that it's split into 3 separate parts, and those have very distinctive plot lines. If this literally just became one movie, it would not translate on screen literally at all. It'd be like The Lightning Thief. It would be like so bad. It wouldn't work. You wouldn't have any of the like shock factor of the end of the book. You wouldn't have like the actual intricacy of knowing how Snow thinks. He goes from being like well-intentioned but in the wrong way to being just a full-on fuckwit, and you wouldn't have that otherwise because so much other stuff would have to be cut out, and then we'll have just like a whole fandom where everyone just is like, oh my god, President Snow, he's like, you know, misunderstood. I'll be like, you must be stupid. Okay, this is editing me like an hour later, and the other thing I've got to say about this book is the amount of times that we hear him say shit like, fuck the Mockingjays, fuck this, Mockingjays, so like, it was so like, I'm supposed to read Mockingjay again and be like, oh, the whole reason he hates Katniss is because she's from District 12 and her symbol is a fucking Mockingjay. It was a little, you know, the whole book honestly was a little on the nose. Just saying. I was like, really? Like, Suzanne, yes, it was really good. It was actually good to like see like his whole like power hungry like status symbol, because it's like his grandmother made him like that. Snowlands on top. There was, you know, the point in the book Tigress writes him a letter. Also, Tigress is his fucking cousin. I'm just like, what? You really did that? And you treated her like fucking shit. Okay, she was so nice. She was weak because she ate raw meat, but still, what the fuck? And then this part where he's like, they're like, Snowlands on top, she writes him a letter, and she puts SLOT, and I read it as slut. I entered that into my book. And the one thing I really liked about this book is when they were talking about like all the war and like what the capital was doing during then. They were really eating each other. I mean, it's the capital. I'm not expecting much, but the capital really ate each other. And then, like, not even 10 years later, they were like really already looking down. They were like, ew, the districts are disgusting. I'm like, Mom, they're not eating their neighbors, are they? Yeah, that's what I thought. Anyway, there's just so much in this book that like to unpack. That's why I'm like, I want to do a whole separate video just on this book. I know everyone already has, but I mean, it's still interesting. My sister interrupted me. How rude, because she already has the whole bedroom. I can't have the lounge room. Yeah, so I rambled a lot about Ballad of Songbirds and things, but it was just like there. I don't really know what to think of it. Plus, I like hardly remember reading it. I literally like don't remember it. And like it was only a month ago that I read it. Like I literally read it 5 weeks ago. And then after I finished The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes, I reread the entirety of the Hunger Games trilogy because I wanted to, and I was in the mood, because while I was reading Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes, I was watching the movies the first time in like 5 years, and I was like, well, I'm going to read the books. But I did something different. I actually listened to them on audio, and I just have a few more thoughts to say about this. Okay, so the first book. So I actually annotated all the parts, some of the parts in the book where there's food, because I was like thinking of doing like a series like, oh, making all the food that like eating like Katniss or whatever. And then I realized I don't live in a fucking forest, so I don't know where I'm gonna get all of just random ass like rabbits and shit from, because I don't live in a forest and I'm not like shooting animals and stuff. I'm pretty sure inside of this book, Gales are like, let's leave and like leave our siblings behind. But then in the second book, he's like to Katniss, could you like take Rory out and like train him, because I'm in the mines. So you're telling me you've never taken your brother into the fucking forest before and you're gonna leave him behind with no skills on how to survive? What the fuck? Seriously, what the shit? Like, okay, we'll be hating on Gale and shit, but like, this is actual reason to hate him. He was just gonna leave his fucking sibling without any skills? Like, the fuck? Gale's their only fucking food source. What an asshole. This book's actually funny. I kind of didn't like this book. Like, this is my least favorite one in the series. Like, bleh, it's catchy fire, like, whatever. But this book's funny because, like, there's literally a part in this book when they're in the arena where, like, Katniss and Finnick, like, prank Peter, like, and I was sitting there reading it, like, listening to the audiobook, and I was like, that's funny. But also, I'm reading this. And, you know, we meet Gale's family, we meet his mum, and the narrator of the audiobook reads his mum's name as Hazel. And I'm sitting there like, the hell? Excuse me? The hell? What? I've been reading her name was Hazel for the last 6-7 years, and it's not Hazel. It's Hazel? Like, I had to ask the group chat. I was like, what is this? What is it? What is this? And they were like, yeah, it's Hazel. I was not happy about that, to be honest. And obviously, Mockingjay. Listening to this book on audio was not sad. Like, normally I read this book and I'm like crying my eyes out the whole, I mean, to be honest, the whole way through the entire trilogy, I'm like, let's cry. And this was the 5th time I've read Mockingjay. I've read the other 2 books 4 times now. I read this one more time because this is like my favorite book. The audiobook does not check out. I mean, the last chapter is still really good. Like, that is honestly one of the best chapters in the entire series, but none of the deaths were sad. Like, I was like, oh, whatever, Finnick's gone, which, to be honest, I never really cared when Finnick died. Like, I was never sad about it. I was sad that he died, but I wasn't sad when I read it. But like, it wasn't it. The whole time I read this book, I cried when Finnick died. It was weird. Like, I don't know why number 4 I had to cry about it, but this time I literally didn't care. I didn't even care when District 13 was getting bombed. Like, I always cried that part. I didn't care when Prim literally died. I didn't care when she was throwing stuff at the cat, which is all the things I usually cry at, but like, I didn't care. So I don't know. I'm never gonna listen to it on audio again. I mean, I gave these all 5 stars. Like, I kept them at 5 stars because they're, you know, 5-star books. They're like the best things I've ever read, and I love them. This is like the crappiest wrap up. I've been meaning to film this, but now I'm like, I don't know what I'm talking about, because I don't have notes. I don't bother making notes, but I want to post this tonight. And I'm trying to be quiet because my sister and people are like literally gonna come home in a second. It's like awkward. Also, I got my glasses. I've had them for like 2 weeks. I got them literally the day before we went back into lockdown. So like, I can see, but I can't go anywhere. And the 5th book I read in June was When Dogs Cry by Markus Zusak. So what I didn't know about this book was that it's technically the 3rd book in a series. Also, I'm really stupid because I was reading this book and I was like, why are they talking about like VB and stuff? Like, this is weird. And then I remembered that this is set in fucking Australia, and I was like, wow. Yeah, so this was a really short book. It definitely does not need to be read in this series. Like, this was fine as a standalone book. My sister technically chose this for me because I was sort of doing the Olympic Games readathon, and I was like, I need a random book because I didn't want to read Fangirl, to be honest, and I pulled that out of my TBR jar. And I was something short, and I was like to my sister, can you just like go pull out any random book that's like less than 200 pages? Because this is only 204 pages. So I was like, yeah, that's good enough. And she did, and I bought this in 2014. And all that time, I've never seen the first 2 books in this series on shelves, but now that I've read this book, it's everywhere. I'm not gonna read them because I read this one and I didn't really care for it, and it's the last book in the series, so I know kind of how everyone's storyline wraps up. I'm not really cared. So this book, when I was reading it, I was like, I was reading this and the main character's name, Little Mac Bitch. So we're basically following like the youngest sibling, and his name is Cameron Wolf. And not gonna lie, I was slightly picturing Ansel Elgort the whole time. Mainly because this guy's like kind of an incel. And I was like, I really don't care about it. And I was like, this book literally highlighted the difference so much between these two, because the main characters are pretty much the same age and yet they are so different. This is a 17-year-old boy acting like a 17-year-old boy. I don't like 17-year-old boy. Anyway, my dad is home. I give this book I think 3, maybe 3.5 stars. It was kind of just there. I mean, the writing was a little bit annoying. I was like, it's a bit juvenile, but also this book was published back in like 2000, so I don't know, I just didn't really care about it that much, but I read it, so that's that. So if you like this video and you want to see what I've read in July, don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll see you in a couple of days time. Bye.